The Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, convened a high-level national dialogue in Machakos County, bringing together Kenyan women parliamentarians, civil society actors, and climate and land rights experts to discuss gender equality, climate change, and access to land ownership.
Globally, we know that women make up majority of the developing world. That is a population of 1.4 billion that are poor. Generally, they do have lower income. They have less access to credit and decision-making authority, but they also do have limited controls of the resources, increasing their vulnerability to climate impact. It is also estimated that on average, 80% of all the women in the IGAD region don't own land and are only granted access through their spouses or other male family members. I think this is a big challenge that is there across the strata in our society.
The two-day dialogue focused on empowering women across Kenya and the region by addressing land-standing challenges related to land rights and environmental resilience.
Several women in the villages, they are doing the cooperatives. We are doing empowerment, especially through the position of women reps and the women MPs, who go and empower those women groups. They are even able to buy even a piece of land for themselves where they can be able to do a community project for themselves. This is very important, where we do the community-based initiative where we empower women, and especially the ones who are in organized group. The need of legal empowerment, and this is especially for the widows and the women who get through divorce. I know there are several organizations like FIDA who give free legal advice to these women. But even for a woman in the village to know where they can be able to go and look for legal advice, it is very difficult. And so as a way forward, we need to strengthen the legal framework, how we can be able, as we empower these women, as we do the table banking and the rest, as we open for them cooperatives, we need now to educate them on their rights. Because a lot of them don't even know the rights that they have. And number two, on where they can go to seek for help.
The event aims to forge a collective pathway towards inclusive policies that support women's ownership of land and active participation in climate resilience strategies.
We all know, Excellencies, access to land is key to women's ability to use sustainable agricultural technologies or techniques, which is a footpath to correcting climate stress across. However, women's land governance continues to be characterized by many concerns, some of them which I've already mentioned, which include, among others, insecure land and land-based resources rights.
We know that women are the main users of land with regard to eking out a direct livelihood from land, yet they suffer difficulties in accessing the land, and by extension, their children also suffer hunger and malnutrition. This subject matter, which has identified women land rights as a subject of concern, is appreciated and made better by bringing together both the legislators of policy and legal framework formulation and the implementers, that is those of us who work for government in various sectors.
Speaking during the forum, Dr. FATUMA ADAN, IGAD head of mission to Kenya, called for urgent action to dismantle structural barriers hindering women from owning land, sentiments echoed by nominated Member of Parliament Honorable Sabina chege.
Evidence, Excellencies, has shown that women involvement in climate change and land governance decision-making is low, but worse for the African women. Women from the global south have been systematically excluded from climate change and land-related decision-making processes in as much as they are gravely and equally affected by climate change and climate variability. And land policies tend to favor men. Of course, men are favored across at the expense of women, and this perpetuates and insubordinates women all the time.
The issue of ownership of land I'll say from our customs is basically patriarchal and very male dominated. Thanks to our constitution, now that women in Kenya can own land, but still we are very far behind on the things that should happen. So our deeply rooted patriarchal society structure has contributed to the discrimination of women and having the rights to own land. We also have our customary laws that sometimes contradict the Constitution of Kenya, where they do not recognize women's rights, and especially on inheritance. And you find that ownership of land in Kenya, it is either for a woman to be associated by a male individual. Either you inherit from your father, or you are married, so you co-own land with your husband, and which majority of the women, we till the land. We work on the land. I come from Murang'a, where we have coffee and tea. So you find the women are the ones who till the land. They're the ones who take care of the cows, the children. But at the end of the day, if the man wants to sell that land, the woman is not even considered.
Honorable Sabina Chege, who was the chief guest, applauded IGAD's efforts and reiterated the Kenyan government commitment to gender equity in land reforms and climate action.
We had a law on matrimonial property that was passed in Parliament, where that law tried to help women, and especially when it comes to the issue of divorce and what a woman would share. And that law says you share equally what the man or what you two contributed to after, not what the man who married you got, but after you are married, so what you brought up together. And the challenging, the bit of that matrimonial law, which maybe we as colleagues and members of Parliament need to look at, is how do you then, are you able to account for the time for that housewife who has been there at home, who prepares this man to go to work and do big businesses or go to work, dresses him very well, takes care of the children. And so he says, I was employed, yes, I got this and this and this, but can you be able to equate that time, that dedication, that sacrifice that majority of women will opt to even not work to take care of the children? How are you able to equate her contribution? Because we are told your contribution, what when you came in, and the man contribution.
Dr. Juliana Mutua, Deputy Director, Physical Planning, Ministry of Lands, reaffirmed the government's position on gender equality, citing the Kenyan Constitution as a progressive framework that guarantees equal rights to property and land.
We have made milestones in the promulgation of the Progressive Constitution of Kenya 2010, which provides in Article 27 and 40 for equality for all and right to property ownership. But we also know that there are persistent cultural challenges. This exists despite these legal provisions that have been made. Women are still not out of the woods because of cultural challenges that speak differently on land access and use of and its use by women.
As women in Kenya, you work so hard, but the resources are not yours. So you'll find the women who work, especially in the rural village, even especially areas where there's T-bonus that comes in, the man is the one who goes to the bank. So even with the money that you make, for you to even go and buy your own property with your own name, unless you do it very secretively. And if a man discovers that you have now owned a property without him knowing, then you already think you are plotting something against him. But for them, they can own as much as possible. Actually, when somebody leaves or departs or dies, that's when the woman discovers, Allah, this guy had land where. So it's actually lack of access to resources is one of the challenges that our women, and I'll say majority of our women have in this country.
The Intergovernmental Authority on Development is an 8-country trade bloc in Africa. It includes governments from the Horn of Africa, Nile Valley, and the African Great Lakes. It is headquartered in Djibouti. Reporting for the Muslim Insight, my name is Mariam Sa.